Hey guys, John here. So in this video, we're swapping out the OEM air intake on the Toyota Tacoma, and we will be installing this one by S&B. All right, so step number one, we're gonna go ahead and take out the old intake. So take off this intake manifold cover, and then we'll be loosening up the hose clamps to take off the stock intake. So I just disconnected the battery. It's a 10mm socket. Next, we'll disconnect the MAF sensor. Now we're gonna go ahead and disconnect that vacuum line right there from the intake tube. Now these two hose clamps right here, one right there and one right there on the throttle body, takes a 10mm socket. So we're just gonna go ahead and loosen those up and take that away from the engine. So as you can see, the MAF sensor harness was stuck on the back of that too, so just make sure you disconnect that before you take the whole intake tube out. We're gonna unfasten the lid, take the lid off of the air box, and take the filter out. It's actually pretty clean. Now in this box, there's two 12mm bolts. Go ahead and take those out, but let's save them because we're gonna use them for a further step. And once those two 12mm are out, you have one more 12mm bolt right here. Now we're gonna take the MAF sensor right here. Be careful, we're gonna take it off of the stock box and we're gonna put it onto the S&B tube right there. So looking at the MAF sensor, putting it on this tube, it can really only go one way. So just line the holes up. I mean, it can't go this way. It can't go that way because it's not lining up with the holes. So the MAF sensor will only go one way onto the S&B air intake tube. And then when you put this onto the intake, you're gonna go this little gasket first here, then the spacer, then the MAF sensor, then the screws onto the tube. Next, we're gonna salvage these three metal and rubber washers from the stock air box. Once they're salvaged, go ahead and put them into the S&B box. It's easiest to have the metal grommets out, put the rubber one in first, and then the metal inside of that. Next, we're gonna take this rubber washer thing and go ahead and put it right here into the air box. And that's what it looks like, all nice and flush. Then go ahead and put this rubber one on. Next step, you could do one of two things. You can either plug up the box right here, or you could install an extra air intake to get even more air into the motor. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this extra one into the front so the Tacoma can suck up some more air. Okay, so I have it installed and I just went ahead and put my hand in here to make sure that it was sealed up around the outside of there. But now we have that extra air intake tube. So this thing's gonna get air from both the fender well and also from the front up here. So it's gonna be sucking in a lot of air. Next, we're gonna go ahead and place the air box into the truck, line it up with the three holes back there, and then we're also gonna make sure that we line up our intake that's going into our fender well too. All right, and then reinstall the three screws that you had taken off earlier. So it's lined up, and then the fender liner one, it doesn't go into the fender, but it just sits flush with it. And then I have the scoop in there, and it will get some air, but firewall right here is or the little grill wall right here is kind of blocking it, but we do have some openness right here, so hopefully it'll just suck from the grill into here up into there. But if I tell no difference, then I may just take this off. All right, next step is to go ahead and install the intake tube. So honestly guys, I just went through here with it out, and it's so much easier to do it. And then prior to putting the tube in, I just had the coupler here with the two hose clamps. That way you're able to put it right into it, and then I'll just adjust the tube accordingly. Then go ahead, connect the MAF sensor, connect this vacuum hose, position these hose clamps up, and then tighten them down. Next, go ahead and put the air filter inside, and then the hose clamp that's attached to it, just kind of move it around so it's easy for you to tighten it up. Next, we're gonna go ahead and take the seal gasket and we're gonna put it all on top of the intake box. These directions are really good, guys. So just press and seal it down all on top of the box. So I put the whole gasket in, and then I had a little bit extra, so I just cut it off right there. Now we are going to go ahead and take the clear box, which I really like. It's a clear cover. Go ahead and take off the protective coating of this. Here's your screws for that, and then we'll screw it into the top of the intake box. All right, so all the screws are installed, and then I redid the MAF sensor. I just went under the intake tube with it and then set it right there. All right, and do one last check. Make sure all your stuff is properly tightened down. Put the engine cover back on, and then put your negative battery terminal back on. And that's it, guys, super simple. So now let's hop in it, see how it sounds, see how it feels. quick though. 45, it has like a nice little kind of throaty sound to it. So under light acceleration, it sounds nice and throaty. When I floored it, it was pretty loud and almost a little bit like raspy, like the box was kind of rattling, like the top of it, but there's a ton of air going into there. So maybe I will take the plug, maybe I'll take that intake tube that goes down into the grill off and see if it sounds better. But the throttle response though, I don't want to lose that. Honestly, the throttle response is actually pretty good. So go ahead and put the pedal down. It gets up and goes really quick now. I mean, for the Tacoma to do that, again, louder noises, butt dyno, placebo effect, maybe, who knows, right? But that feels pretty good, and mid-range too feels pretty good too. And with that whole drive that we did, we still don't have a check engine light, so that's good. So the noise, good growl at like 1500 RPM, and then you can really hear it like start to come on around 2000. Okay, and then everything looks sound. The little front intake here though, it's kind of bowing in a little bit. But aside from that, I am gonna leave this on. It's still secure though, so I am gonna still leave this on, even though it is a little bit obnoxiously loud. I really like the throttle response that I get, and again, not sure if it's butt dyno, placebo effect, whatever, but it definitely feels that this engine is breathing a lot more, and for me at least, it feels a bit more peppier. Now, this setup, don't think you can run it with a snorkel. There is the seal right here, but there's a lot of openness, even like right here too. It would be open to the front, and even if you put the plug on, it's still just a little rubber plug. So I would not recommend running a snorkel with this. If you want to do a snorkel setup, I would probably choose a different intake for that, or ask them like, hey, how can you make this snorkel compatible? And I do like S&Bs. I had S&B in my 4Runner for a while. I got better gas mileage with it. It went up like 1 mile per gallon. It wasn't as loud in the 4Runner, but the intake tube, after, I don't know, however many miles, I have a whole playlist of it, the intake tube was stupid clean. So very clean, very good air filters that I've ran on the 4Runner. So with any updates that I have on this one for the Tacoma, if I take this off, I'll let you guys know, show you guys how the sound is. Maybe I'll just do a comparison video about that too. But for now, first impressions, very good. Super easy install, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next video.